And so tunable white products traditionally have started to really grow in popularity. The issue with tunable white is the same issue that we have with chip on board. Chip on board is like our streamlight dotless tape light. The issue is that even if you can achieve 90 CRI with chip on board, the problem is a lot of lighting designers and architects out there really live and die by the specifications and the LM79 reports. And so the issue with that is that chip on board traditionally has not been able to bin. And if you know anything about binning, that's pretty much how we choose our LED diodes and SDCM, which we are going to do a training in the future on some of these lighting design terms. But SDCM is standard deviation McAdams ellipse, and this is a little bit past binning. It is about not just consistency of LED diodes, but also the quality, making sure that we achieve as close as we can with each CCT on that black body curve. And the black body curve is really the best way to get the best gamut fidelity and CRI for white light spectrum types of products. The issue is chip on board, you can't bin. And so traditionally the gamut fidelity has not been nearly as high. And we're not able to hug that black body curve very tightly. Now we can still achieve 90 CRI, but if you have been to any of my trainings in the past, we always talk about this, that really CRI is not all the same. The issue with CRI is that to this day, you can go to Home Depot and get an $2 LED light bulb. And still it is still considered 90 CRI. And so the TM30 method was started by IES, the Illuminating Engineer Society, back in 2015. CRI has been around since the 1950s. And the issue is that the IES knew that they had to create a new standard because a lot of these manufacturers that cared about light quality and cared about gamut fidelity and the color vector graphic and all of these different things, you couldn't really show that in any type of spec. There was no standard for this. And so in 2015, they extended the CRI. So they extended it from R1 to R8, which were all pastel colors. And then they extended it to R9 through R14. They also added gamut fidelity, which is really hue and saturation. A best analogy I can give you for this is you can take a look at a red apple and render that red apple correctly, but it can look like it's on a 720p TV or a 1080p TV. Versus you can take that same red apple and render the colors correctly, but it can look like a 4K or 8K TV where it's HD. It looks like it's coming off the screen. It pops. And so this is a whole roundabout reason to explain really the issues with tunable white getting into specification. Now, there's a lot more specifiers to this day across the country that are utilizing tunable white. The issue is that tunable white is most commonly a dual chip. Okay, they have a cool white chip and a warm white chip. And if you look at it on a tape light, which I'll show you here in a little bit, you can see those two chips and they look a little bit different. And all you're really doing when you're mixing between CCTs is very similar to warm dim. Warm dim has a cool white and a warm white chip, and they pretty much, you're mixing between them to then achieve different types of CCTs. And so I want to preface this because one of these new tunable white products we have, VALENT X, is going to be a game changer, and I don't use that word lightly, into achieving top tier types of lighting design projects and actually getting tunable white on these projects due to this trio chip or tri-chip that now allows you to hug the black body curve through every single CCT. So very excited about this. We've been waiting for something like this. And so just wanted to preface that and why I'm kind of going to focus more on VALENT X tunable white today. But let's get into it here. So I want to start out with doing just we always do this every quarterly virtual specifier training, just a recap of the last 2 quarters. Q2 2024, we did a grazing type of training, learn how to graze in 45 minutes. And then we really went into the differences between grazing and wall washing. If you remember, or you can also go and watch these old quarterly virtual specifier trainings. The recordings are on our Elemental LED YouTube page. There is a series named just like our Reel to Reels. It's a playlist, and you can see all of the past quarterly virtual specifier trainings. But we talked about it, how the root word for graze in the Greek language is to scrape. So you are scraping an architectural textured wall with light versus wall washing. It is the opposite. You are trying to pull away any of those small imperfections and details in the wall so that the eyes will focus on something else that you're trying to showcase. A focal point or a feature point is what they call this in lighting design. So for example, if you have artwork on the wall, and you had artwork right here, and this wasn't a textured wall, you would want to wash that wall so that the eyes draw to the artwork, and then all of the little imperfections get washed away. Okay. And so we talked about our indoor grazer, which is Graze X, a very, very unique grazer that utilizes tape light solutions at the base. So you can customize this grazer to any dimension you want within the inch. It is extremely minimalistic form factor, much less expensive than most grazers out there. You're looking at around, on average, $50 a foot versus most grazers out there. At the very least, around kind of mid-grade grazers are about $150 to as much as $250 to $300 a foot. So this has allowed us to really get into grazing applications that are still budget-sensitive types of projects, but also be able to achieve a very small form factor, so it's not an eyesore or you don't have to recess it in the ceiling or the ground. Okay, we also talked about our OBD Flex. This is our new outdoor grazer. This is a flexible grazer that has cut points every 6 inches, so you actually can modify it in the field versus Graze X. It is a custom factory assembled fixture. Eventually, we are coming out with a new outdoor grazer that will be much more powerful than the OBD Flex. This is much more for your 15-foot walls or less. So think of like retaining walls, right? That have like stone retaining walls that you want to graze up. Maybe there's plants in the front of it so you can hide it behind the plants, or different types of building facades, things like that. You can also use this for outdoor pergolas and almost do kind of like a grazing up the ceiling part of the pergola and almost kind of making it like a cove / graze. So really cool product. And we also talked about our Broadway. This is our RGBW DMX controlled wall washer. And I just want you to remember with this is a very cost-effective wall washer compared to most out there. You can do about 4 to 5 stories with this. And the 2 big selling points is that it is 120 volt, so you don't have to deal with drivers. Okay, so no drivers, you don't have to hide those somewhere. And it's also a DMX decoder on board. So you don't have to have all these decoders that you have to remote somewhere. The actual decoder is built into the actual fixture. So that was Q2 2024, and then we have Q1 2024. So these were the linear flex profiles. I'm very, very excited about how popular these have become. It's 6 different profiles. Okay, so the micro side bend, the 3D mini, the side bend, the top bend, the 3D, and then the 360. Wanted to give you a couple big selling points on this, and then there's a couple updates on this. So 5 of the 6 profiles, so besides the micro side bend, is a new type of patented technology called free cut. So you can cut these profiles anywhere you want and terminate in the field. Okay, so there's no cut points whatsoever. It's utilizing a patented dual circuit board. It's really, really cool. If you have not taken a look at our past quarterly virtual specifier training on this or reel to reel, I suggest you do. We have a live demo where I cut it in live, and it shows you how you can really cut this anywhere and be able to terminate in the field. The other cool selling point is the 3D and the 3D Mini. It's utilizing a patented spine technology that's infused to the tape light. So this allows you to bend it both on the top bend as well as the side bend, but it's still architectural, flat top, rectangular, and completely dotless. So really cool products. Excited to see where those go. And then today, right, Q3 2024, we're going to talk about the new VALENT family, the new additions to this. And so we have 3 new types of VALENT products that we have just released. And so we're going to go through all 3 of those, but really focus more on the VALENT X Tunable White. So we have a new VALENT Tunable White, and I wanna remind you guys that it's the same thing with Blaze and Blaze X, or VALENT and VALENT X. Okay, the X in after the VALENT or after the Blaze really just means that it is a higher CRI. Okay, it has a higher warranty. So instead of 7 years at VALENT and 7 years of warranty at Blaze, Blaze X and VALENT X are always going to be 12 years. Okay, also, you usually can achieve higher lumen outputs with any of the X profiles, and also have sometimes a lot longer max run. But really, where I want you to focus on is that warranty and that CRI. That is usually the difference between stepping up from VALENT to VALENT X or Blaze to Blaze X. So VALENT Tunable White, we wanted to still offer a good quality tunable white that is still a dual chip. So now with VALENT Tunable White, and we still have Streamlight Tunable White, we have a reel-to-reel on that as well, and a quarterly virtual specifier training on that. That is our dotless tunable white. But again, because it's chip on board, we have had a hard time getting this into specification, because a lot of specifiers live and die by the specs. Even though if you get Streamlight Tunable White in person, you can see that it still has great color rendering, great light quality. So VALENT Tunable White is obviously a bend style tunable white, but it's using a dual chip. As you can see here with my mouse, we have just a typical cool white and warm white, and it's still a tight pitch, as you can see all the way down here. So we'll look at the specs here. So again, you still are getting that high density, or what we call a tight pitch type of tape light. Notice here, it's not as, it's actually more than the typical VALENT static white tape light. So VALENT static white tape lights are about 72 chips per foot. So you can notice here, it's about 87 chips per foot. So that's what I love about it. You still get a good high density type of light to then be able to achieve good lines of light without having runaway diffusion. This is dual chip, and the CCT range is 1800 Kelvin all the way up to 4000 Kelvin. We knew this was a thing we needed to come out with. People have been asking us that, with Streamlight Tunable White, there's really no point to go all the way up to 6500. They would rather lower the CCT, and since Streamlight starts at 2700, they really wanted us to go down to 1800 Kelvin. This is a trend that we are seeing in the industry right now across the country. I never thought this would be the case. Most people didn't like back in the day the very amber styles of light. Now, probably one of the most common CCTs we see across the board, besides obviously the typical 2700 and 3000, is that 1800, 2000, 2200, or 2400. We're seeing that a lot right now. So with this CCT range, you can do 1800 Kelvin all the way up to 4000 Kelvin and anywhere in between. And just note, some of you might know this, but I always like to make sure people understand, with CCT ranges in tunable white, this does not mean that you jump to another CCT, then jump to another CCT, like 1800, then 2000, then 2200. You can do anything in between this. You could do 1833, right? 1833, 2754, whatever you want to do, you can achieve that specific CCT range. 90 plus CRI. The cut points are better on the VALENT Tunable White than the VALENT X Tunable White, which I'll show you here in a second. You get 1.6 inches on cut points. We do have wet location options coming soon. Just note, we always like to kind of test the waters first with these types of products to make sure that they're going to sell, and that there's no types of issues with them that we need to re-engineer, and then we will come out with wet location versions. But as of right now, it is only IP20 indoors. Voltage obviously is the 24 volt, and then also 6.1 watts a foot. So it's drawing a pretty good amount of wattage. And then I wanted to make sure that we talked about the lumen output here. So with all on, you can achieve up to 400 plus lumens a foot. You can achieve this by with multiple different types of control systems. The easiest way to do this is with DMX control, where you can actually turn all of the CCTs on at once and really achieve a very bright light at 400 plus lumens a foot. But just know, just giving you kind of the range at the 1800 Kelvin, if you're just on that, you're looking at about 167 lumens a foot, and then 4000 Kelvin, about 275 lumens a foot. Another thing I did want to note that is unique about VALENT Tunable White is every other VALENT product that we have is always going to be 12 millimeters. This one is unique. We were able to use smaller LEDs to then shrink the circuit board. So this is a 10 millimeter tape light. This is similar to the size of Streamlight Tunable White or Streamlight, what's another one? I think that's about it. We don't have too many 10 millimeters. Usually you're looking at Blaze, regular Streamlight, Blaze X. Those are going to be 8 millimeters and they fit in every single channel extrusion we offer. Then there's VALENT X. Those are more, you're looking at 12 millimeters, and that fits in most of our channel extrusions, but not every single one. There's a few of them that they don't. We obviously give you this compatibility list on the spec sheet, so just keep that in mind. When I'm actually going to showcase a spec sheet here in just a little bit that will let you see how we do it as well. We let you know if it is, for example, if it fits in the extrusion, but it's only a solder only, or if it fits in the extrusion and you can use our terminal blocks and a solder. Because sometimes it's small enough where you can still fit the tape light in there, but you won't be able to fit the actual terminal block. It will have to be a solder only. Max run, unfortunately, this is something that is kind of bogging down the industry right now, is the max runs for different types of tunable white products, different types of RGB and RGBW products, due to the circuit boards and the amount of LEDs and amperage that they draw. So still, you're looking at a max run of 16.4 feet. I think in the industry right now, there's a few types of products out there that can reach up to about 23 feet with RGBW. RGB is a little bit different. You can go much farther with that, but again, only 16.4 feet. We'll see where the industry goes with this, hoping that we can expand on that in the future. And in warranty, 7 years. Okay, and so you can see here, down here on the bottom of it, right, you have the different cut points. You know, every you're looking at every 1.6 inches, and then you can see how it's still that nice tight pitch, smaller LEDs. And I just wanted to showcase this on the next one. So just showcasing the wire diagram here. So you're going to have that typical wiring that you get with most tunable white dual chip products. Okay, so black is now going to be positive. On tunable white, they always use black for positive. Same thing with RGB and with RGBW, because they want to address the red wire to red. Okay, so on static white products, you're always going to have red is going to be positive, and then the black is going to be negative. And so then you have that yellow wire for the warm white, and then you have the white wire for the cool white chip. So pretty basic wiring system here. Recommended channels. I wanted to go through this. Since this is more our budget sensitive, more cost effective tunable white product, what I would recommend with this is the S series. Now, again, this is just a recommendation by me. This will fit in all the other types of channels. You could use the VALENT Tunable White as a more cost-effective light engine and still utilize one of our A series channels, which have, you know, architectural types of lenses that have scattering properties, bubble acrylic, to really give you great homogeneous types of lighting. Homogeneous lighting, by the way, is more than dotless. Homogeneous is where it is evenly diffused from the edge of the lens to the edge of the lens. Dotless could be no dots, but you could have a hot spot through the middle of the actual lens. So, but S series is still a fantastic channel profile series. We have the S1, we have the S2, which is just the only really difference is the S2 just has the lens farther away from the bottom of the aluminum. Really, the best way I would explain to you guys what to choose and the difference is S1 is great for indirect view types of projects or applications, okay? So that is where you're not going to see the face of the lens. If you are going to see the face of the lens, either jump up to our A series, right, or utilize the S2 since the lens is farther away and you will not get a hot spot going down through the middle. Okay, and then there's the S45. I love this channel. It's an angled channel that can fit in the different corners. So for example, you could put this on the lip of your under cabinet and shine it back towards the backsplash. Maybe it's a backsplash that you put a lot of money into or your customers did. It also has a rounded lens. So it's a really kind of cool, unique product here. I'm going to showcase that here in just a second when we do the demo. Okay, then let's, this is something I'm very excited about. VALENT X Tunable White. So I want you to notice here that you can see it has the 3 different LEDs. And so the best way to explain this is, so I think of N is technically it is considered like neutral, the neutral LED white. But the best way I can explain this is I consider it the anchor, and I'll explain why on the black body curve. So this dual chip right here, sorry, this middle chip to make it a tri-chip is really the unique part about VALENT X Tunable White. So you'll have the 1800 Kelvin chip here on the warm white. This is your 3500 Kelvin, and then this is going to be your 6500 Kelvin chip, okay? And they're all playing together to give you not only an extremely long CCT range. So that's what I love about VALENT X as well, is it's not just anchoring to the black body curve. The other unique part about it is that a lot of CCT ranges with tunable white are not that long. They're, 1800 to 4000 like we have with VALENT Tunable White, or 2700 to 6500. This is pretty much every single CCT that is common in this industry, from the low point all the way up to the high point. So 1800 Kelvin all the way up to 6500 Kelvin. Okay, so let's go through the specs here first, and then we'll I'll showcase the black body curve here. So, all right, let me go. Okay, so again, dense LED placement, typical. But now you have that tri-chip, so you're looking at 1800 Kelvin all the way up to 6500. And again, this is the big selling point if you're a rep out there, and you're trying to sell, a lighting designer, an architect, right? You're trying to get them to understand the difference between this tunable white, is that it is ensuring accurate representation across the white light spectrum. The other difference is that the gamut fidelity is extremely high across every single CCT. And I'll explain what that looks like when I have the visual here with the black body curve. So you're looking at 95 plus CRI. Now that is awesome. The CRI is really high, but again, the biggest part is that it's across the entire CCT range. Okay. Unfortunately, due to that tri-chip, we have 2.46 inches on cut points, so about 2.5 inches, but still pretty decent. And then again, wet location options are coming soon. And so the lumens on all on is a little bit brighter than VALENT. So instead of 400 plus lumens, it's about 450 plus lumens a foot. And then you can see here just the different CCT ranges and in the chips when they're just on themselves, what the lumens per foot is. 12 millimeter, so it is a larger tape play, just typical to normal VALENT and VALENT X. That's why that was a little unique with VALENT Tunable White, is having it a little shorter. And you can see here 117 chips per foot. So that's pretty amazing. Now you're gonna have really clean lines of light, really good diffusion, no runaway diffusion, as you even if it's bare tape play. Big fan of that, the fact that we were able to achieve so many LED chips on one single foot. 16.4 feet, that's typical. And then the warranty is a 12-year unrestricted warranty. Okay, so here's the wiring diagram. So just a little bit unique on why I wanted to kind of touch on this is usually, right, you're a lot of people that are used to tunable white are going to be used to that warm yellow wire and then the cool white wire. So this is a little bit of a different wire diagram. So you still get black for that positive, but then you can almost see red as the warm, right? So red fire being really, really warm, okay? And then green is gonna be your mid chip. So you're in the middle, that's the 3500 Kelvin, and then you'll get a blue for that cool blue type of light for the cool white chip. This is what a typical black body curve looks like, okay? So the problem is that dual chip. Now, with the black body curve, notice how red right over here there's a bunch of red, and then blue is on the other side, okay? So if you ever are wondering why, for example, R9, which on the CRI rendering colors, R9 is was the newest R value that they added to the extended CRI rating. And R9 is what's considered saturated red or deep red. Now remember what I said, R1 through R8, where the problem is that they were pastel colors. So they actually weren't true colors. They were colors with mixed white in it. The other issue with the CRI, the old CRI, was that it was the combination of all of those colors combined. So R1 through R8 combined. And so the problem was they could go low in like the light blue, violet purples, and things like that that are closer to red and closer to blue, which are the most important ones to render. And then what they would do is they would go very low in those colors and then go high in like the greens and things like that that are not nearly as important to then achieve a 90 CRI average. So what happened is now with the extended CRI, not only did they add saturated color, so you'll notice this now on website pages, like product pages, they'll have a 90 CRI comma and then 90 R9. And those are the companies that care about light quality that are focusing on R9. R9 is the most important color to render by far, but it's also the hardest color to render by far because you notice it has a bunch of area of nanometers to be able to try to achieve that red correctly. The other issue is that on the other side here, the blue is the opposite of the red and very far away. So what happens is R12, which is the second most important color, the render, that is saturated blue, it's a teeter-totter. So R9 goes up and then blue goes down. Okay, and this is happening a lot with our competitors right now. They are focusing on R9, which is great. They'll have really good R9s, but if you look at the LM79 reports, their blue starts to shoot down a lot. What we've been able to achieve with our different types of VALENT X products, VALENT products, but specifically VALENT X, is that we have the highest R9 values in the industry by far, but also we have very, very high R12 values comparatively to our competitors. We do not have a massive teeter-totter effect. And so the white spectrum, though, this is the black body curve. Okay, and so you can see it curves, and that's the issue with it, right? It's not a straight line. So when you use a low Kelvin chip like this, okay, and then a high Kelvin chip, okay, without a trio chip, it makes a straight line across. Okay, so notice that if you are at the low Kelvin, you are close or on the actual black body curve. So your CRI, your gamut fidelity, will be very, very high and look really good. Okay, same with the high part right here, the high CCT. But notice as you go to the middle, it gets farther and farther and farther and farther and farther away and then it starts to go back down again. That is the problem with tunable white and why a lot of lighting designers have not utilized tunable white on very high-end projects where they need good CRI, because anywhere in the middle CCT, which again, what is the most common CCTs that people use? More in the middle, more like 2700, 2400, 3000, 3500. That becomes not good CRI whatsoever, not good gamut fidelity, and you can notice it. And so this is a typical tunable white product. Okay, this is going to be VALENT X here. Okay, so VALENT X is using what we call that anchor chip. Now, this is just a rendering that I utilized. Technically, the chip would be right here, the 3500 Kelvin chip, but same idea. So now you get an anchor chip. And so what this does is it allows you to go a straight line, boom, all the way to the second chip and then a straight line over. So again, hugging that black body curve, even with this little bit of a gap, that is much better than most of the tunable white products out there. So this allows you to have 95 plus CRI at every single CCT, on some of them even higher. That's why we say plus. 95 is going to be more around right here, that lower gap part. Okay, but we can achieve with VALENT X CRI, and we're actually about to release the LM79 reports here soon. We just released this product, that's why we don't have it on the website. This now allows us to be able to have even like 97, 98 CRI across every single CCT as you go up the tunable white product. So really, really unique type of tunable white. Very excited about it. And so once we have those LM79 reports, we'll take a look at those here in the future. We'll release those. We might even have maybe a follow-up type of quarterly virtual specifier training on it, and then maybe do all of our tunable white products. But really, really excited about this tunable white product. So recommended channel profiles for this is the A series. Mainly A series is going to be that homogeneous type of lighting, so you get the even illumination, the even diffusion across the lens from the edge to the edge. These are patented channels of ours. We actually make these in the US. Okay, so they're BAA. Really incredible channels that have scattering properties, raceways, sharp tooth lenses to help diffuse the light even better. Big fan of these channels. I'm going to showcase those here in the demo side in just a second. And then VALENT RGBTW. So really with VALENT RGBTW, the biggest thing I want you guys to look out for with our RGBTW is, in my opinion, this is where the future is going. I think in the next 5 to 7 years, when this technology and the control systems become better, cheaper, more cost effective, it's easier to integrate into these types of products. I think in the future, there will be no reason to have multiple light engines across a manufacturer where they have 8, 10, 15 different tape lights. This will reduce the amount of light engines to maybe 3 or 4 or 5 tops. RGBTW is pretty much taking 2 technologies or protocols that we've had for a while and then integrating them together. So RGB, where you can choose any of the color spectrums, but then also integrating tunable white into RGB. So on one single platform. So the best way I can explain this would be you can choose any color you want that has no white mixed into it. Okay, so non-pastel saturated colors. You can switch back to then just tunable white and choose any CCT you want within the range. And we'll go over the range here in a second. Then what you can do is mix in different CCT whites back into the colors. So traditionally, what you would see is no T here. It would be RGBW. And most manufacturers out there, the W stands for a 3000 Kelvin chip. Some competitors out there do 2700. So what you could do is you could mix the 3000 Kelvin back into the colors, but you couldn't mix any other CCTs. Also, when you went back to white light, the only true CCT you could do was 3000 Kelvin. That's it. You could mimic other CCTs. You could mix the reds into the white, the 3000 Kelvin chip, and achieve like more like a 2700 or 2400. You could mix the blue into the white chip and achieve a higher CCT. The problem is it's not a true CCT. It's actually mimicking CCT. So it's not very accurate. It's hard to get it on correct across an entire project. So this is allowing you now to do any CCT you want that is true CCTs, and then mix those different CCTs back into the colors. This gives you billions and billions of options within one single light engine. Really excited about where this is coming. So this is VALENT RGBTW. We are coming out with, just letting you know, in the next few months, a Streamlight dotless RGBTW. So keep that in mind too. Here are the specs. So still that tight pitch tape light. The CCT range is going to be 2400 Kelvin all the way up to 6500 Kelvin. So if you notice back on the this slide here before, this is going to be that quad chip, okay, for RGB, and then you have that warm white and cool white tunable white chips. Okay. And so what you're dealing with is now 6 conductors. So this is why a lot of control systems are still more expensive to be able to do RGBTW. The products are a little bit more expensive. It's because we're adding another conductor. So instead of 5 conductors, now we're dealing with 6 conductors. So you're dealing with the plus, positive, right? And then RGBWC. That's what you're dealing with here. So you'll still get the billions of colors, right? But again, it's just there's some control systems that only are compatible with 5 conductors, or they now had to come out with new types of control systems to be able to handle 6 conductors. In the future, we'll see if it gets to even 7 conductors, where we do something like RGB and then TW, but it's like the VALENT X Tunable White, where it has 3 chips. Who knows? We'll see where the industry goes. 90 plus CRI, field cuttable every 2.46 inches. What locations options are coming soon? And then really the only other thing I wanted to show you is just kind of the all lumens on. You're looking at about 350 plus. Again, this is not meant for big general lighting styles of projects. This is still meant more for accent lighting. And then you have just some of the lumen outputs at each color in each CCT. So I do think RGBTW is the future. I talk about this a lot. I also think dotless is the future. What's cool about this is that we wanted to come out still with one of our VALENT series with RGBTW, but then again, we are investing in RGBTW. We'll be coming out with a dotless platform as well here in the near future. So just the wiring diagram. Okay, so you got the black, red, green, blue, white, yellow. Okay, so again, the white and the yellow are for that tunable white. It's pretty simple on this one, kind of standard here. It's, the black is that positive and the red, green, blue wire. So nothing special there. A little bit easier than our VALENT X Tunable White. That's a little bit unique for wiring compared to other products out there. Recommended channel profiles. I'm going to show here in just a second why I really suggest a deeper cavity style channel profile. So this is the 16 millimeter. It is a deep regressed channel profile that has the lens far away from the actual aluminum with a raceway on the bottom for wire management and hitting clips. And you'll see what I mean. If you want direct view with RGB-TW and you want to do different things on the ceiling and have like linear fixtures going through the ceiling, you really want to have a lens that is deeper away from the aluminum to give you no runaway diffusion. Another one that I would suggest is the A1 from the A series. That's the largest channel. I am just a big fan of the 16 millimeter with RGBW types of products. So recommended drivers, don't want to spend much time on this. This is our VLM constant voltage driver. I just want everyone to note, if you're a specifier, I know that sometimes you don't get into choosing the drivers, but you can make recommendations. With this driver, I love it. It's a patent pending. It's extremely minimalistic in design. So if you are doing like different types of RGB-TW cove lighting, you can actually house this in the cove and then run the low voltage wire right off of it. You can stub out the high voltage wire in the four corners of the room. It actually fits up there. It's really small profile, but again, you need a constant voltage driver when you do anything that is 3-wire or above. What we consider in the industry color changing is even tunable white. Tunable white, you're changing the color of the white light. So 3-wire or above, you need what's called a constant voltage or non-dimmable driver. The reason why is that the control system wants to do the dimming, but if you use a standard dimmable driver like OmniDrive X or OmniDrive Basics, okay, that is now a dimmable driver. So both control and the driver are going to fight each other, and you're not going to get smooth transitions, smooth dimming levels, low dimming levels, okay? So you really want to use a constant voltage non-dimmable driver, okay? And then we'll open it up for questions here. Let me make sure there's no one else in the chat. Oh, Lise, for Kasambi. So I'll show you here in just a second. Kasambi, right now, you can use Kasambi for the VALENT Tunable White because that is a 3-wire system. The only issue with VALENT X Tunable White is we don't have the Kasambi controller in stock. Now, I'm pushing the team to come out with it and have it as a stocking item. So, for example, the Kasambi controller that we have as of right now, it's called the CBU-PWM4. The Kasambi just came out with a new controller called the CBU-PWM5-Pro. It is awesome. I've read the specs. I'm ordering some right now to get it in to test it out, play around with it. You can order this online. Obviously we want you to work with us, but we are going to work on getting that in stock. I think I'm hoping we can get it, moving here in the next few weeks. But yeah, take a look at that online. I could actually, in a second, show you the spec sheet. And take a look at the Kasambi 4, the Kasambi PWM5. It's a really cool controller. And then that one, I have to look into it. If I'm not mistaken, the PWM5 also can work for RGB-TW. Don't quote me on that yet. I need to do a little bit more research, but it looks like there should be no reason why you can't do RGB-TW as well with it. So, and I can take this offline with you afterwards. Send me an email, remind me, we can set up a chat and talk and stuff. So, all right, let's go into this first, and then I'll answer any other questions here. So, you can see here, that is going to be our VALENT Tunable White. Okay, so again, the very kind of similar chips going all the way down here. Okay, and so I actually have this one plugged up to a Kasambi. So you notice here, very, very common wiring diagram here, right? So just the black wire, and then you have the warm wire and then the cool wire. So the exact same wiring system as the Streamlight Tunable White if you've been using that here in the past. Let me actually, let me spotlight this too. Bear with me here. Let me spotlight it. There we go. So everyone can see it better. So you can see there. Okay, so same typical wiring diagram. So I'm going to pop this in to Kasambi here. Okay, then I'm going to do something like this so that this way you don't get blinded. And again, I'm just reminding everyone, this is one of the hardest parts about doing virtual trainings. We've actually thought about possibly doing pre-recorded demos so that we can do it in our black room and actually be able to give you much better views of the color rendering and the light quality. That's the problem with a camera, is trying to do it over camera does not really justify the rendering. But I'll show you here. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way up to that 4,000 and stuff. And so I'm going to do it this way too. I'm going to utilize, let's go like this and put it on my, I'm going to grab, give me one second. I'm going to grab a different color light, really, a different color that I can utilize here. Let's try this, see if I can green. Okay, so you can see here, oh, that is shiny. Okay, maybe let's do that. That looks a little better. Okay, so this is at the top CCT. Okay, and then you can go down all the way to that really warm, nice 1800 Kelvin. I really want you guys to get samples of this in hand. I am a big fan of, even with VALENT Tunable White, I know it's not that high CRI like as high of a VALENT X Tunable White, but really beautiful product. So really cool. And so again, I'll just show it, showcasing right here without blinding you too much. I'm gonna go like this, and I wanna show you what I mean by the chips kind of changing. So as I go up here, you can kind of see them. It's hard now because both of them are on right now. And then it kind of changes back into the other chip. Hopefully you can kind of see that. It doesn't show as good, but you can see how right at the middle, right when I'm in the middle, it almost, you can't even see the chips on anymore. Sorry, you can't even see the chips individually because both of those chips are on right now. And then you can go down and kind of go back to that warm, and you'll see how that one chip now, the white chip, turns off to then change to 1800 Kelvin. Okay. For the VALENT X, and I promise we'll have a good video here shortly. We'll email everyone who attended the day. So you can see there, it's still that nice smaller LED chips. And that's what I love about this, having that 100 and something, I forgot how many it was, chips on one foot. It's crazy how many LED chips. And so you can see there, right, very small LEDs, that tri-chip. And then also, just if anyone's ever wondering why we can bring down the price of like VALENT versus VALENT X or Blaze versus Blaze X, is notice that we have even writing on here. And it actually says VALENT X versus on the VALENT product, it doesn't have that. Doesn't seem like much, but that right there, taking away the verbiage on the actual printed circuit board, can save us a lot of money and save you guys a lot of money. So that's why we do it, just to be able to give you still some type of cost-effective options. All right, and I want to show you the RGB TW. I know this one is working. Okay, give me 1 second. Turn this one on, and then we'll end it here and have some, have any questions that you guys want to talk about, anything. Okay, so you can see here, this is going to be, this is our 16 millimeter channel. So I'm going to showcase it like this. So you can see that raceway on the back here. This is great for like hitting clips, okay, or hidden wire that can go behind here. So I love this. I love this channel. Notice too how big it is. So with my thumb. So really nice, good size here. Now what we're doing here, I'm showcasing this on a touch dial. This is a new touch dial of ours that you guys can get that is able to work with RGB TW. Now, I do want to note something here. We are working on the back end right now, engineering this, because as of right now with the touch dial, you can change to the tunable white. You can change to the colors. You can even change and get certain colors of white. But it's not like DMX. I want to keep that in mind. DMX, I can accurately go into the programming and actually mix a specific CCT of white into the colors. You don't have this color wheel that is not very accurate on trying to keep consistency. Just keep that in mind. This is great as a sample. When I figure out that Kasambi, I do believe Kasambi is a little easier to showcase because the app, you can kind of see what CCTs you're at and things like that. Also, it's not bulky. You don't have to walk around with a controller. You don't have to walk around with this. It's a way smaller controller, something like this. But I wanted to just kind of give you all three options of DMX, Kasambi, and touch dial. So with this one, I'm going to showcase this here, and I'm going to do this backwards so you guys can see it as well. Okay. So you can see really nice diffusion, and I can go like this and kind of change the, let me turn it on first. That might help. Okay. So you can see like right here. Okay. So I'm going back to like the reds, and now again, this is not really showing it that well on camera. There we go. Let me do that so you can see it better. And so, you know what I'm going to do? Give me 1 second, guys, so I can show it even better. I'm going to turn off some of the lights. Okay, so you can see how here it's good, different types of blues. Okay, their reds are really nice. It's not obviously blinking in person. It's just the camera. And I want to show you guys something, one last thing before we open up. And I know I'm over time, and I apologize. So now let's say I can also do with even the touch dial, right? I can do different like scenes like this where I have it kind of circling through, okay, where it's going through different colors. Okay, and then I can also do this. I can come back into the white. Now, this is now the actual tunable white part. So I'm at the high CCT, and I can kind of go down to a nice warm CCT, okay? And then it doesn't look as warm as it is on camera, but you can go really nice high whites, and then go down to that warm CCT. Okay, so you get some controllability with touch dial. You just don't get as much as if you had like DMX. I can do this too and kind of go back to, let's say, a color, and then I can take like the green, put the green in. I can take it out. Okay, I can go like this and do blue. Okay, I can then go red as well. Okay, and then kind of mix back in different colors as well. So really, it's basic. It's not bad. I definitely am gonna try out that new PWM5 to kind of see what kind of controllability you have with that. But I want to end it there for now. We will be having better videos on this in the future that we can showcase this in one of our black rooms. Again, if you have any other questions, last second questions, hit me up on our training@diodeled.com email. All right, I'll see you on the next one, guys.